fired up to be here talking about relationships, family, and why is my light flashing? Do you see that? That's just weird.
That's how Mike sounds this morning, buddy. How you doing, man?
Was my audio choppy? I don't know what's going on.
But you're
with my
better
light
now.
here.
You're better now, my friend.
Good. My video signal is a little bit weird. I'm not sure what's going on there. Hey, want to remind everybody, first off, right out of the gate, this is episode 293, and we're going to be talking about relationships. But tomorrow night at 9 o'clock Eastern Time, we're going to be doing a webinar live right here on Spreecast called The Basics of Juicing. You definitely want to check it out. And you can go to this link. Where's my link? Nothing is working this morning. What's up? This link right here, click on that and you can get registered for it. We'll send you a text message reminder. And the author of Just Juice It, who's my friend and co-host Matt Maddox, will be covering a lot of the questions that we get all the time about juicing. So you don't want to miss it. Make sure you register, make sure you be there, and we'll see you at that. And good morning, my friend.
It's going to be a very informative seminar tomorrow night. Just a lot of the practical do's and don'ts of juicing and what have you, and really answering probably the top 10 questions that have come in, and just really give a lot of good tips, maybe dish out some recipes, and who knows, I might even set my NutriBullet up right here and, get something rolling, my friend.
That's cool. I'm trying to figure out why my video is flashing. Tommy says it's a party at my house. I need some dance music. Maybe I should put that on here. And
got
a little house.
What's that called? The strobe light?
Yeah.
Dude, when I was in 8th grade, I owned like 3 strobe lights because I threw parties in my garage every weekend as an 8th grader. I was like the coolest kid in school. My garage was always 3 of those. Right? I mean, it was bumping, man. Did you talk about a good time? But hey, you can't be in 8th grade forever. What can you say? And that's when we did like break dancing to Michael Jackson and all that stuff. I was really into break dancing. Had the tight rolled jeans rolling. Pretty cool stuff.
Is there any way there's pictures? Is it possible?
There might be a few pictures laying around, but that's definitely gonna stay in my mom's box.
Hey, did you have a disco ball?
DJ Matt.
You have a disco ball?
Yeah, we did. I did have one of those disco balls that we hung I had talked my dad into hanging in the middle of the garage. And dude, it was cool. It was fun times, man. It was literally like our own little dance studio. Had all the kids over. We thought we were so cool because we drank ginger ale because it looked like beer. So we all had like mugs of ginger ale with ice. Yeah, we were total dorks.
Wow.
But anyways, it was fun times. Carol, I didn't want to hear it.
So, hey, we got to stay here for just a second. So you said Michael Jackson. Were you like rolling some Vanilla Ice and MC Hammer and stuff? I mean, that was about the right time, right?
Vanilla Ice, bro, Michael Jackson. Who else was it? Even Millie. Remember Millie Vanilli? Is that what their names was? The famous lip syncers?
Yeah, Millie Vanilli.
We had it all going. The Beastie Boys. I mean, one of our favorite ones when we would crank it up. You got to fight for your right to party. You remember that? Yeah. Strobe lights would be blinking. We'd have our ginger ale. We'd be like, you gotta fight for your right.
I might intro tomorrow.
Anyways, it was a good time.
I might intro tomorrow's show with some Beastie Boys. We'll see how that rolls.
Yeah, that's actually a pretty good little. That should be on everyone's workout playlist. It should be, but anyways.
Did you have like the Vanilla Ice hair? Any chance? Just like straight.
Dude, I did. I really did. Vanilla Ice was my hero back then. When I look back at what I was like in 8th grade. I would, like, my son's going into 8th grade. There's just no way as a dad. There's no way. I can't imagine my son coming to me and saying, "Dad, let's get some strobe lights. I want to hang a disco ball. Me and my friends are going to be having parties on the weekends." I'm like, no.
Well, okay, so here's a good question, since this is a great follow-up on our whole conversation about you breakdancing in your garage to Vanilla Ice. Um, I didn't see that coming.
Hammer time. That's right. MC Hammer. Hammer time is what we started the party off with, Pacey. Can't touch this. Anyways,
Wow.
we're going way back now.
Drop. And here we go. So if you get the, let me ask you this question then, as a father of a son, who's going into 8th grade, you said.
Yes.
That's an interesting thing as a parent. How do you make that decision about, okay, what is, where do you draw the line when a kid is like, I mean, that was you sort of expressing yourself and individuality, and yes, maybe you were a dork with your pegged jeans and your probably pastel polo with the collar up, and I'm just guessing, but. So at what point do you say, hey, look, this is a little bit weird, and where do you draw the line for that? You personally, I mean, you wouldn't like to see Caleb breakdancing in the garage, clearly, but how do you sort of grapple with that personally?
Mike, that's actually tough because I'm careful with this because my son is now officially a teenager, so. I can't say that I've raised a teenager, so I'm very careful with any advice I would give. But I will give an observation that I really believe strongly. I believe a lot of, teenage problems can be settled on how we trained our children in small areas in their upbringing. For example, the marshmallow test, teaching delayed gratification when it comes to, sometimes many parents give in to every one of their kids, every craving, every desire, and I think that, believe it or not, those small little things, every time you pass by, back in our day, it was Dairy Queen, and I know parents that literally they used food, and the correlation between food and temptation, maybe drugs, alcohol, sex, whatever. I really believe there's a correlation there in how we trained our kids growing up to handle cravings, and even I don't know. In my opinion, like I said, I believe a lot of things, small always reveals big, and how a kid reacts or how you parent your kid's reaction to small things, I really believe bleeds over into big areas, so I don't know. I'm not assuming my son's going to come home with Metallica posters tomorrow, and or I don't even. I'm so out of touch with today's.
Metallica, what's he, 28?
Metallica's been picked on so much by conservative parents that they're like, "Hey guys, we're 90 now. Can you leave us alone?"
Wow. Yeah. Okay. So let me jump into some of the other questions. I do want to remind everybody else that's watching live. Hey, first of all, thanks for being here on the live audience and participating. It's great to see. Love the comments. Thanks for picking on Matt with me. Appreciate that. But by all means, ask questions. And Tommy, we'll get to your vaccination question next Tuesday. We've got a show lined up next Tuesday for that because Robert had asked about it yesterday as well. And we want to give it a good treatment. But if you're not live, you're watching on the archives, send us a text, 727-341-5599, or shoot me an email, mike@mattmaddox.com. We'll get those questions on. And we've got some questions that, wow, this is like the Revelation show. Matt's 8th grade crush was Wendy.
This is reminiscent. For some reason, I started the show with reminiscent 8th grade, man. 8th grade was the best year ever because, it's the final year when you're like the king of your school because, when you become a freshman, you're like, life changes until you become a senior again. But anyways, we won't talk any more 8th grade, Mike. Let's get into this show.
We could go on all show talking about 8th grade probably, but we won't. Hey, Let me ask you this, because we've got some dating questions, and of course, a lot of people have, uh, you know, questions about dating. They send them in, and so we'll get to that. I do want to ask this though about a family friend and I'm sorry, a family or someone who's part of your family or a friend of yours that has some sort of weakness that you're seeing and maybe is exposed to you. Should you confront that person? So we're talking somebody that's pretty close, their family, they're a close friend. Do you confront them about that, about their weakness, and if so, how do you go about doing that?
Mike, I got to be honest about this, okay? I'm going through a transition in my style of how I handle family and friends and people in general. I've always been a straight shooter. I really have been known as a kind of tell it like it is guy. I really don't. I've been pretty um, I've been pretty like vocal about just having tough conversations in the past with family, friends, connections, whatever. Mike, I'll be honest with you. Probably out of 50 people are even emotionally stable enough to even take correction or whatever. I'm actually at the place now where I feel like I'm gonna be like the Bill Clinton with people. Like I'm gonna be the most loving, kind, just in other words, and I don't say that as a funny joke. Actually, I respect Bill Clinton for he does have amazing people skills, by the way. Um, and if you do want to study someone who's really good with people, really, I mean, people can have their own political views, but just because someone might be messed up politically doesn't mean they don't have any value that you can't learn from their life. I mean, he's a genius in many ways. But anyways, that's a whole nother topic. But my point is Mike, I've gotten to the place in my life now where I've almost decided to never again give any type of constructive criticism, correction, whatever you call it, call out to a family or friend or anybody. Like, because so few people can actually take
Wow.
it or want it.
Yeah, that's true.
So few people can handle it. And usually it results in tension in that relationship, many times the loss of that relationship, many times I've been thinking about this the last 2 days in my meditation and just in my reflection and journaling. And I'm like, I made a list and I thought rarely did anything good ever become of it, because here's the deal. Very few people even can deal with evaluation, like evaluation. Very few people don't like straight talk. They don't want to be corrected. Very few people do, really. So I've almost just resorted to, you know what, I'm going to live my life. I'm a life coach. If people want me to help them, they can hire me. You know what I'm saying? I'll write books. We'll do our stuff. I'm going to focus on being a dad in this company and just do it, because I realize that what good does it do? What really very few people, if Jesus sat down and told them their flaws, very few people are going to change. Mike, very few people are committed to changing. The process of changing a behavior, a habit, a piece of your personality, it takes commitment because you got to grow in that area, you got to learn, you got to change habits, you've got to, so very few people are even willing to go through the process of change. So I'm like, why would I even put any type of friction and I know that comes across as a passive approach, which I am not passive by nature at all. I'm really not. I'm probably by nature, confrontation doesn't bother me. I'm not afraid to have the straight talk. And I don't mean confrontational. I mean just confrontation. You get what I'm saying? So anyways, what are your thoughts on this, Mike? I know you're really good with people.
What you're saying is extremely pragmatic. At the end of the day, and you're right. I mean, my personality is more passive than yours, probably in general. I would say you've got an aggressive personality, maybe, and but
It makes me feel
at
good.
the end of the day, why waste energy and cause issues in something that will have an extremely low yield? I do like what and what I mean by that is that sometimes, I mean, why waste your time, really? And you're just going to cause issues more than anything. I do like what Pacey said about getting someone's permission to give feedback. I will say this though, in some cases you can be extremely sincere and ask somebody, and go about the process and get their permission to sort of speak to them, and they may verbalize that it's okay, and at the end of the day it's really not. Because sometimes people will say that, and that you'll sort of get to that place. You have to feel that out and really, and sometimes they could sincerely and genuinely say, yes, I do want to hear the straight talk. And I like what Mary said. She's entering a phase where she's receiving that hard talk, that straight talk, that sometimes difficult to hear things. And you can have every intention to want to receive that and still really not be able to receive it, because sometimes it's really hard to do. And so sometimes that is a difficult thing. And when you're talking about somebody that's close, a close friend or family, I was thinking about the scripture that talks, about the prophet has no honor in his own country, and when Jesus went back to Galilee and he could do no mighty miracles there, because they're like, that's just Jesus, the son of the carpenter, right? And I'm sure that you've experienced this, Matt, being a life coach and someone who teaches health and a spiritual leader and all these things, and you can go to close family and friends and try to speak into their life, and they're just like, shut up, Matt. What do you know? You know what I'm saying? And you're like,
Yeah, no
okay,
joke.
whatever.
No joke.
Hundreds of people that are paying me to give them health advice, but don't ignore me when I tell you about juicing or whatever. You know what I'm saying? So there's a bit
Yeah.
of that.
I literally, like, I've had friends and family that were overweight that were sitting there like giving me like their opinion about weight loss. I'm like, okay, well, it's obviously working really well for you, so
Um,
don't listen to me. Don't worry, I'm not here to help.
well,
Yes, I'll.
yeah. At the risk of being negative, let's move on. So, this has already been an awesome and fun show. We're 17 minutes in, but I do want to get a couple more questions because I did, foreshadow some dating questions, and people love to hear our dating questions, even though I'm, so out of the know in this,
So far removed.
so far
So
removed,
far removed from the dating scene.
distant and permanently so. Well, let me ask you this. What are three? I love these kind of questions. What are three mistakes that you see people making when they're dating?
I think three mistakes is mistake number one is going too fast. Dude, I mean, the power of a man and a woman's chemistry is so powerful that, moving so fast physically and even just with, you know, use of words of I love you or even with romance. I mean, I've seen dudes like go on one date and send a girl like a dozen roses that week. And I'm like, are you kidding? Are you absolutely kidding me? So moving too fast is mistake number one. Mistake number two, Mike, is not having real conversations and getting to really know each other, and then not being clear. And also, like, this is kind of lumped up into one answer, but one of the biggest mistakes that I see people make in dating is that, first of all, they're not even clear about what they want, and they don't have a process for their dating. Meaning, like, you date to mate. I don't believe you should date anyone you wouldn't consider marrying. I would never date somebody I would not consider marrying. So that's number one. I wouldn't waste time. I mean, if I'm going on a date with somebody or if I'm going to begin a relationship with someone, then I'm 100% sure that I could marry them. I'm not saying I'm going to. I just know that I could. The only way I know I could is to have real conversations, really talk, get to know each other. I mean, I meet couples and their first couple of dates is like concerts or movies. I'm like, where's the conversation? You know, like I think that more of your dating should be less about romance in the beginning and more about talking. You know, I'm not saying you shouldn't have fun, you know, but really, what kind of meaningful conversation can you have over putt-putt? Mike, I just don't envision any of my first few dates being a putt-putt
Yeah.
date. I just don't see
Or
it. Or
or a
bowling,
Metallica concert.
or Metallica or MC Hammer concerts. Anyways, mistake number 3, and these are all 3 very important, is ignoring red flags. Every one of us in the beginning stages of dating sees red flags, okay? It'd be like this. Be like, you know, obviously, you know, we all have our own values. We all have our own, you know, beliefs. We all have our own convictions. Too many of us compromise those because we're so attracted to this person. And you ready for this? Like, we justify. We're like, oh yeah, but you know, we ignore these little things because they have so many good things in every other area that that's a problem to me, because that little thing will grow, that will resurface. And let me tell you this, what a person is when they're dating, they'll be twice that when they're married. You people that think you're going to
Yeah.
change the girl or the boy, it just ain't happening, my friends. They're putting, here's one for you, all you single people. The person that you're dating is putting their best foot forward right now. You're seeing the best of them. So if the best of them is not unbelievable, then I'm just telling you right now. I mean, you know, yeah, I mean, sure, the more you get to know somebody, if they're awesome and they're quality, you're going to be like, wow, you'll love them more. The best of them will get better. But just, you know, a lot of times what happens is, you know, I'm talking about the beginning stages of dating for, you know, especially with young
Yeah.
people, boys and girls, men and women, you know, adults, whatever. You see these little warning flags, red signs, but, you know, we think, oh, well, you know what? We justify too much. So that's my thoughts, Mike. What about you?
I have no idea. I'm, you know, happily married. I don't care. No, just kidding. Well, I want to get to Anita's question a little bit. It's a little off topic, but before we get there, what's the biggest mistake you've personally made when dating?
Uh,
As you're thinking, Carol is right. We actually, when we were dating, went to see Hank Williams Jr., I think in the mud on Harriet Island in St. Paul. Or was that Steve Earle? I don't remember, but it was.
I would have loved to have been your third wheel back in those days. Biggest mistake that I have made in dating, Mike, is it's 2 mistakes, and they're equal. One is not being clear up front with the person. You know, I really believe in clarity. Um, you know, for example, like right now, I could possibly have a girlfriend right now, but she would have to have such an understanding of the season of my life. And I think that very few, you know, so I think I wasn't clear in times past, you know, about maybe, you know, maybe my commitment as a dad, maybe my schedule, you know, the fact that I can't call her you know, I really can't. Like, I just can't. Like, I would want to, but I can't. So that would be number 1 mistake, is not being more clear in the beginning and up front. The second mistake, Mike, is what I said. Is and again, if any of my ex-girlfriends are watching right now, I'm not jabbing at you or digging at you at all, because I'm just referring in general, dating. Is, Mike, I didn't cut it quicker when I
Yeah.
recognized red flags. You know what I mean? Or just not even red flags. They don't have to be bad. When I recognized that this is not a potential mate, because I thrive on changing people, right? That's what I do. So there's a part of me it's a challenge for me to want to make them better, right? Literally, like there is a challenge aspect of like, okay, I think I can make her, you know, better in this area. But I was not smart because even though I knew that it wasn't really a potential mate, I still continued to date. So I would say that was probably one of my biggest mistakes and my third biggest mistake myself is that I dated when I wasn't ready. That's my biggest mistake, actually. Now that you got me talking about it, that's my biggest mistake, Mike. My single number one biggest mistake in my 9 years of dating. That's a long time, Mike. I've become an expert at this. My 9 years is dating when I wasn't ready. Bottom line, dating when I wasn't ready. Wasn't ready emotionally, mentally. Wasn't ready to give what I needed to give or what she deserved. Wasn't ready. Just needed some more healing, needed some more growing. You know, you know what I'm saying. So, what are you laughing at, Mike?
The text that we just got. Hey, we've got a bunch of good questions I want to get to. So I'm going to give you 30 seconds to answer this, even though it's an entire show. Based on that, the number one mistake that you made dating when you weren't ready. How does somebody know they're ready to get into a serious relationship after a divorce or a disastrous breakup? 30 seconds. Go.
Maybe we should do a seminar on the 10 signs that you're ready for a relationship. 30 seconds. Number one, how you know that you're ready is when you are emotionally healthy. That's it. There's your answer. I mean, I could give you 10 answers, but you asked me 30 seconds and I got 20 seconds left. You got to be emotionally healthy. You've got to be in that place where you're ready to give 100%. Be in a committed, exclusive. If you're not ready to settle down, if you're not ready if you're not ready to be exclusive with one person, if you're not ready to be committed, then you're not ready. So don't even try. Don't make yourself, don't rush it. If it's not there, it's not there. It doesn't mean you're a bad person if you're not ready. You're just not ready.
That's good. Hey, this is actually a good question from Britain that I want to field. And she's asking, how do you handle your son wanting to go out with girls that aren't? She's saying that don't hold the same standards as you, but I would say even expand that and just say somebody that you wouldn't. I don't know. How are you handling?
Want your son to date?
How are you handling your son wanting to date girls? How about that?
Well, I've kind of brainwashed him from youth up about focus. So I'm hoping that his commitment to baseball is going to help kind of deviate a lot of that. That's what I'm hoping. But anyways, Mike, I mean, this is tough. I mean, there's no easy answer to this at all. The only thing I would say, Britton, is this is why I tell everybody, every parent should master sales and persuasion, because you're going to have to use certain sales skills with your teenagers to show them why. And this is it. I mean, kids, when they start liking somebody, you're dealing with hormones, you're dealing with, and this isn't necessarily a bad thing. It is what it is. There's lust, there's desire, there's,
Right.
There's chemistry. And at the end of the day, look me in my eye. It is very normal for people to get attracted to people that don't have the same standards or even the same faith. I mean, I want to marry someone in my faith, but I'll tell you this. I've met some really amazing people that were not of the same faith, but I was like, you know what? Like that can be tough on people, our teenagers or whatever. How many times have you heard our teenagers say, well, man, they're more real than any, boys that from our church or girls from our, whatever it is, So let me go back to this, Britton. How do you do it? You do it by try to do it as early as possible before there's no connection. At the end of the day, you're still the parent. And at the end of the day, you do have a right as the parent to tell them no. You do have a right to say, I am not in favor of this and you are not allowed this. And again, it's hard to cover this in a few minutes because, there's a way to say this. There's a way to say it. There's a way to sit down and handle that. What I would say, I like what Tommy said. What I would say is just sit down and have a heart-to-heart talk with him and not like, in sales, they would tell you to do more listening. So ask a lot of questions. And a lot of times, You can get them to talk. You can get them to see it by asking questions. Well, let's talk about why let's talk about why you like her. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to give you the reasons why I don't think this is the best choice for you. And I want your opinion. Let them give their opinion after they've heard their whys. Reason with them a little bit. Again, I don't know the situation. I mean, Mike, we should do like a live, what do they call it, role playing one day. So then the only thing I would say to that, Britton, is at the end of the day, as hard as it is, and you just got to be careful how you do it. But I am one of those people that still believes that parents can look at their 17, 16-year-old kids and say, absolutely not. No.
Yeah.
You're not allowed to text her. You're not allowed to call her. You're not allowed to see her. Yeah, okay. Are they going to rebel? Well, that's something that they've got to take up within themselves, and obviously, God, and I really believe that it might sound old-fashioned, but I really believe our children and teenagers are supposed to honor their father and mother, straight up. Like, I believe that even if it's tough, even if you don't agree, like from childhood, we should. And it's sad that our society, is bred so much disrespect to authority. It's sad. But,
True.
I think, Britton, you're a good enough mom that your son will trust your judgment. And I think that a lot of times when you look at your kid and say, just don't feel good about him, most of the time, hopefully, they'll step up to it, I mean, again, Mike, we could go 20 minutes deep into this right here.
Easily.
So it's harder for me to take something that's so serious and try to cover it in 3 minutes. Do you have any additional thoughts on that, Mike?
Yeah, I would actually, I agree completely with you, and there's some chatter in the chat box too about, if you lay down the ground rule and say this is just not an option, that your kids will go around behind your back, and that may be a possibility. But as you alluded to, at the end of the day, you have to do the right thing as a parent, and you need to look at it, long term. You don't want to undermine your own influence in their life. That's why the Bible says, I think in Proverbs, provoke not your children to wrath. As a father, you don't want to get to the place that you provoke them, beyond your influence, in other words. So you need to be careful about that balance. But at the same time, you can't, I made a mistake of allowing, a young man and my daughter to sort of be together, and he was not, in our faith and didn't have the same beliefs as us and so forth, and same moral values, really, is what it boils down to. That was one of the big problems. And I sort of allowed it, just because, it was like, okay, well, let's sort of keep an eye on this and see where it goes. And most times, at 16, 17, it's going to, implode in a week or two anyways. And it was a huge mistake. Honestly, it was a mistake on my part. I should have just cut it off at the very beginning, even if it would have caused problems and issues in the relationship between me and my daughter. And that was a mistake I made. And I think that a parent should, even so, if the kid goes around behind your back and does what you're not, blessing, then that's on them. But you have to do your job as a parent.
Yeah, that, Mike, as a friend, I really admire your transparency for that. And I know that's not easy to talk about, but I admire your transparency, and I agree with you 100%. And I think what Pacey said is good, and that's what I was referring to, Pacey, is the sit-down conversation, reason, logic, ask a lot of questions, make lists. Let's make a list together. But what I was saying is, at the end of the day, as a parent, God placed you in those children's life because there's a reason why you cannot go to war until you're 18. There is a maturity. You can't drive till you're 16. You can't vote. What is it? 21? Is that right? Or you can't drink till you're 21? I mean, what I'm saying is at the end of the day, there's a growth. There's just certain things. I checked my son's phone. I told him, I said, Caleb, you are not allowed to delete your text ever. Ever. And, I check his phone. And as he grows older, I won't. And I explained to him, I said, because as your dad, I want to guide you. I want to see what you're texting. I want to see what your friends are texting you. And it's a little bit of accountability as well. And he knows, I've been very strict. Caleb, Like, you won't play baseball for a year if you delete your text, and I'm not kidding. Like, that hits him where, there's like, and I'm pretty tough on monitoring his tech, because the world of texting and Snapchat as parents, I mean, this is totally veering off subject. I'm not going to go there. But listen, what I want to go back to is this, Mike. I got to go back to the fact that 98% of this, the Bible gives us the principle. Train up a child. Like, values and beliefs and all this stuff starts literally when kids are like 2 and 3 and 4, and like the small things. No joke. Did you allow temper tantrums? Did you allow your kids to disrespect their mom? Like to this very day, my son's mom and I are not friends. We're not, I mean, we're cordial. We do what's best for Caleb, but we're not going to go have coffee next week and chat and hang out, whatever. There's none of that, right? But never have I ever let even if, I'm not kidding, if I was maybe picking him up and she said, Caleb, go grab your book or whatever. And he just said, okay. No. I would literally stop him and say, Caleb, what are you supposed to say when she asks you? It's yes, ma'am. Like those small things, Mike, I literally believe that consistency from birth of making your kids honor. Do you make them stand up when they're sitting in a chair and other adults are standing? Do you make them, if they pee on the toilet in the restaurant, do you make them clean it up? I'm not kidding. I know this may sound extreme, but these small areas of character, I literally believe prepares them for these things. Now, again, hear me. I don't know. My son ain't 16. So I don't know, guys. I'm just telling you what I believe and what I've seen through the years and observing is a lot of times we missed it when they were 2 and 4 by giving them, like, just because a kid cries, did you give him what he wanted just to silence him? Or did you really, go through that? You know what I'm saying? Did you, what did you allow in the small areas? Did you allow your kids to have a messy room? Did you enforce discipline? Did you make them make their bed? Or are you still doing I know 20-year-olds whose moms are still doing their laundry. That's absurd to me. Like, Mike, why do you think the military is so amazing? Because one of the things they do to these punk kids that go and you can take a punk kid and after 6 months of being in the military, they don't let their rooms be a mess. Like, don't you think there's a reason for that? Like, they don't let their clothes got to be folded perfectly. You know what I'm saying? So I really believe, Mike, say it one last time. As parents, you've got to be insane in the small areas, and it starts when what you're instilling in them when they're 4 is going to come out when they're 16 and when they're 20. Yeah, that's just my true belief.
That's good. We've got a bunch of questions left. We're at almost 40 minutes, so I'm going to just table these and we can get to them either tomorrow or next week. Great content, great show. We do need to move on for our schedules don't really allow us to stay on here much longer.
Even though we want to, we have another deal at 10:30. Okay. You're right, Mike. Hey, Mike, great stuff. I want to just real quick give encouragement. Look, man, how many parents out there? I mean, there's things I regret. There's things that I regret to the point I could fall on this desk right now and weep. There's things I regret. I have screwed some things up. Things that I wished like the lump that's in all of our throats when you hear stuff like this of, God, why didn't somebody sit me down and tell me this when my son was 1? You know what I mean? Like, that's there, okay? That's the harshness of life. We can't go back. You can learn from it, you can teach others, and you can write books and say, this is where I screwed up, or whatever. But don't beat yourself up and don't live in this feeling of like, man, I am a horrible parent. There's no such thing as a horrible parent. Like, there might have been flaws you had, there might have been, whatever, but at the end of the day, you know what? Keep your head up, my friends. Learn from this. If you've got younger kids, then this is definitely for you. If your kids are already grown and you're thinking, oh my God, I wish I would have done this or whatever, don't beat yourself up, my friends. That's all I want to say is just be encouraged and live in the moment and learn from it and be the most unbelievable grandparent you could imagine. And, teach others, all that good stuff. But Mike, look forward to seeing you in 15 minutes, my friend. We'll be back, Mike and I, tomorrow at 9:30 Eastern Standard Time to be talking about some other things about technology and apps and all that good stuff, and just the do's and don'ts of Facebook and Twitter and Instagram and YouTube and what have you. Love you guys, Mike. Love you, my friend. We'll see y'all tomorrow morning at 9:30.
See y'all later.